Welcome to Darbania Live. Look who's joining me, my wife, Laura. So excited to have her back here on Darbania. Before we go any further, let's say thank you to the patrons.
Yes, thank you.
These are the ones who make all that you see here on Darbania possible. And while we're here saying thank you to the patrons, one thing I want to tell you that is turned on is the super chat. So if you like Darbania and you want to do the little stickers in the super chat, get your question up there because, yes, we're going to review the episode, give our thoughts. But Laura and I what we know of Marvel comes from the movies.
If you were our comic book person, you would call us Marvel novices.
There you go. So we want to also get you in the comments talking about your theories. And the super chat might be a nice way to get your theory right up there to the top or your question for us right up there to the top. So we definitely look forward to having conversations with you about all that. And just a reminder, as you see in that little thing down there, episode 2, spoiler talk.
Spoilers.
We are going to spoil this thing. Yes, thank you so much. Almost at 10K. I really appreciate that. Excited to almost get there. So keep hitting that subscribe button so we can get to 10,000 subs here real soon. Enchantress. We're going to get into that here in just a little bit because I was leaning towards Enchantress, still think it might be Enchantress, but we're going to talk about that here in just a second here as more and more of you continue to jump on. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for joining us on this epic live stream. So Laura, let's just go ahead and let's kick this thing off and let's talk about the time. I almost said time. They're not Time Lords. What are they? The Timekeepers. The Timekeepers.
You mean the Time Lizards?
The Time Lizards. Let's talk. Laura, what do you think the Time Lizards are good guys or bad guys? Or do you think they're dead or alive?
I think they are different than who they originally were. So like how Loki realized in the last episode that this might be the most powerful place, I think other powerful variants at some point have taken over a Timekeeper. So I think there's, it's just a process of who's going to be next?
So it's possible then that maybe Kang the Conqueror has already conquered the Time Lords. Now, Laura and I, again, don't know much about Kang the Conqueror. I think
not at all.
I think we barely got introduced to him in the animated series Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Yes.
And then it was around that time, something else caught our eye, and we just haven't even gotten back to it yet.
I didn't know there was more. So unfortunately, I've missed out then.
Well, it's all on Disney+. So
we'll get into it.
I would love to get into it. But I don't know. I have these weird, I don't know what I think of the time. I don't know if they're dead or alive. I think they're not going to be what we think they are.
Oh, I agree.
And
100%.
Something I find kind of interesting is I feel like they're trying to do what the devil does and imitate God. Because Trinity, God creates time, space, the universe. And now we got 3 lizard Time Lords who are trying to take, like what as they word it, this multiverse and detangle it into the sacred timeline. And within that timeline, they're trying to force people to play their parts. Because I do find this incredibly interesting that they've said this a couple times now. They said it in episode 1 and they brought it up in this one a little bit. That Loki's role is to play the villain to try to better other heroes. Like, that's his role. Like, he's meant to be the liar, the cheater, the mischief, the manipulator.
Chaos.
Yeah. And so, like, he's supposed to play that role. But I feel like where this season is going is that's not free will. And Loki is not one who wants to walk a predetermined path.
No, not at all. None of us want to walk a predetermined path. We want free will. Make my own mistakes, please.
Yes.
Not because they thought it was okay.
But what do you think of this? So to me, it's very interesting that you have Loki, and when they take him out of Avengers, that's the timeline he's out of, is the first Avengers.
Yep.
His whole plot is to take away free will from mankind. By his whole plot, that's his character arc. That's what he wants to do. He wants to be the ruler, to take away people's free will, because freedom is life's great lie. So you in the comments, like I see you guys joining in. What do you think of this? The fact that Loki has the same motivation. What is up, Dale? How you doing? And it's good to see you. Glad to have you join us on this podcast. What is this?
It is a podcast, video cast,
live
blog,
stream.
live stream.
Thank you for joining us. So, Laura, I mean, what do you think of that? Like, Loki, when he starts, has the same motivation as the Time Lords. Like, he just wants to rule the way they're ruling.
Because he would make it easy for them. And that's what these other Timekeepers are. What if all the Timekeepers are different Loki variants?
Oh!
I mean, I doubt that's in the comic book, but I like a lot of random theories, and I like to just say whatever I think.
And we'll say it again as we're seeing more people jump on. Like, our Marvel Comics knowledge isn't so deep, but we do love the Marvel movies. So our knowledge is basically coming from the movies. So we're coming into this with a blank slate.
Some of it from Earth's Mightiest Heroes.
Some of it from Earth's Mightiest Heroes, which is awesome. My goodness, so bright. Yeah. New webcam. I'm trying to figure it out.
And this is actually the darkest we could make it without us being in the dark and like just darkness.
Yes.
So sorry, it is kind of bright.
So did we just cover? I talked about it a little bit because I do think that the Time Lords are sinister because I feel like what they want to do is take away everybody's free will and they want to mold everybody into what they want to be. I don't find it a coincidence that it's a trio trying to grab a hold of the timeline and mold it into their own image, that they're trying to imitate the Trinity. And so, like, those are many reasons that I look at these Time Lords and I'm like, these are bad mamma jambas. And they are going to have to be stopped. But Laura brings up a really good point. What if they're already defeated? What if it's 3 Loki variants? I mean, we had that.
Just a random. It could be a Thanos variant. Who knows? I mean, well, it's not Thanos. But
hello, Ray 2K. So glad to have you joining us. And please, as you're in the comments, drop in there your theories of what you think is going to happen here with episode 2. Right now, we're talking about the Timekeepers and just kind of our theories about these Timekeepers. I mean, do you have any other Timekeeper thoughts here?
It deals with Mobius.
Yeah.
Are we gonna?
We can transition. This could be a good transition.
Okay, so I don't know much about the character Mobius, but I did hear or read somewhere that there's a lot of clones of Mobius.
I think we said that in our live stream last night.
Matthew V. Haynes.
On Dark Side Review. So check that out because a bunch of us nerds really got into it.
And so I was thinking, well, if he's a clone, what is he a clone of? Is he a clone of one of the original Timekeepers? And did a Timekeeper have to earn his salt by being a TVA agent? And they eventually get up. And that's why the judge is so hard on him, because she both likes him because he is a Timekeeper, but doesn't like him because he's eventually going to replace one of the Timekeepers. I don't know. Random theory that I have, but I feel like he might be a clone of a Timekeeper.
Yeah. That is a really interesting theory. And it kind of brings me to talking about, I can't remember her name.
The judge.
Ravana. Somebody say it in the comments. That would be epic. But she is a very interesting character to me. Why does she have such access to these Timekeepers? Why does she know them so well? I did a brief research, very brief research online. And what I turned up on a fan page, and I could be wrong. So, like, if what I found is wrong, correct it in the comments. But what I found is King the Conqueror had a crush on her and wanted to marry her. She didn't want that. He left her kingdom unconquered somewhere in the future. Mm-hmm. And then, you have this whole weird Timekeeper thing going on. And I don't know, he brings the Avengers to try to show his battling prowess. And then the Avengers take the girl's side. And I don't know.
Yeah.
But there's an interesting history between her and King the Conqueror.
And there is something about King the Conqueror taking over and becoming one of the Time Lords.
Yes. And
so I heard that in a different YouTube review as well, which I can't remember.
And we don't know where the MCU's gonna take it.
Yes.
So I'm sitting here thinking how interesting, she has such access and knowledge to the Timekeepers.
Yes.
And so what does that mean about her character? And I thought this conversation that she had with Mobius in the office was really weird because it is filled with clues and I don't know where those clues are pointing to. I mean, one of the clues, and they really take their time to show you this.
Yeah, like the snow globe.
Well, the snow globe, yeah.
The pen, that's the one I always look at.
Well, it's interesting because talking about the snow globe, her talking about there's other agents, he seems surprised about this idea of other agents like him that she is working with.
Other clones.
Could be other past versions of him, other variants of him. I don't know. There's these, but there's a reason. Also, it focused on his drink. And when he set it down, you have the multiple rings on the table. And
different sizes, different cups.
Exactly. And so then, they take he takes the cup and puts it on there. And that's where, she says, they're all from you. And, whatever. The point is it focused on that. It took the time to focus on that. And it took the time to focus on the pin from Franklin D. Roosevelt.
Yes. And I'm just curious because I don't see the hard part is I've got a feeling that is a throwback to something that happened in the comics during the time frame when maybe this came out, but unfortunately, we're not sure.
Yeah.
So if you know, please let us know.
The Timekeepers remind me of the senior partners from the Angel TV show. Exist out of our time and space, but try to dictate here on Earth.
That's yes.
I haven't seen the Angel TV show, but that could be really interesting. Something that kind of goes with that, thinking about the Timekeepers and ruling outside of time and space, I've noticed, so you have the TVA, and they're looking upon the timeline through their monitor, so they can see the whole timeline. You have Infinity Stones, and they're useless there because apparently they're outside the timeline, outside the flow of time. So here, they're just paperweights. Yet, Mobius very curiously says, time passes differently here.
So time passes.
So in the Pompeii scene where Loki's saying, we're from the future. Wait, are we from the future? Are they from the future? Like now I'm wondering, like, where does the TVA sit? Is it outside of time and space, or is it only the Timekeepers that are outside of time and space? So does the TVA maybe sit on the outskirts of time in the future?
Yeah, that whole concept, it just doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
Because we're so ruled by time.
Yeah, we are so ruled by time.
I'll be very interested to see where the show takes that.
Yeah, no, I'm going to be incredibly curious to see where the show takes that. So, like, so far in reviewing this, like, I'm liking the fact that I have all of these questions.
Yes.
I think it's doing a really good job raising the questions that are piquing my interest and making me want to come back episode to episode because it's really changing the face of the MCU. Like the MCU has been same pattern. And I'm not saying that's a negative. I like the MCU's pattern. But now that we had that epic finale with Endgame, you got to both raise the stakes and you got to shake things up. WandaVision started to shake it up. Falcon and Winter Soldier, I wouldn't say shaked it up at all, but it's more of a down-to-earth kind of gritty series.
Grounded.
So, I liked it. But this one is definitely taking that cosmic perspective and then using it to shake things up.
Yes.
I mean, what do you think of that?
It is.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. You said it.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see here. I am honestly surprised with how well owned. Could you rephrase that? That might have been.
I'm guessing Owen Wilson, maybe.
Oh, maybe.
Yeah.
Yes.
I very much like Owen Wilson as Mobius. It's funny. I was commenting on this last night. I'm like, to me, Owen Wilson doesn't strike me as a great actor, but I like everything he's done, and because he plays the same style of character and everything, and I really like him in this. Like when he was talking to Loki, he was like, "My ears are sharp too."
Yes.
And like just how he's matching Tom Hiddleston very well, which is good because I don't think one should outshine the other because they're supposed to be playing off of each other.
There's our sister-in-law. We both loved the second episode. Yes, it was a really, really good episode. I think I when I first watched it, and I said this on the live stream last night, I liked the first episode better, but now I've watched the second episode about 3 times.
Yeah, we had to watch it again because I knew I was doing this.
There's something about the pacing of the first episode, and maybe it's because it's the introduction to everything that I really liked.
It's got that more epic feel, too.
But by the third time watching this one, I almost like a little bit better now just because of how much more intriguing it is. I mean...
Well, and it's way longer than I thought, because it's funny, I've been merging the 2 episodes together. So when we started watching it again, I'm like, wow, all of that happened in the second episode. There is a lot of substance to it.
Yeah. He said, yes, Owen Wilson and how he interacts with Hiddleston. Yeah,
yes,
no, their
totally
chemistry is so unbelievably good.
I know, but I got to give Marvel this. They're excellent at casting.
Yeah, they are.
I mean, I haven't seen an actor in their series that I've gone, no, somebody else could have done it better. I've been very impressed with all of their casting.
Yeah, and so this is no exception. And one of the things that was really interesting about Owen Wilson in this episode, and it's such a little thing, but it's the jet skis. But what's so interesting to me about the jet skis, Laura...
And wanting the skate back from the judge.
Yeah.
Keep going. I'm sorry.
Wanting the skate back. But what we're seeing is, okay, so he has this conversation with Loki. So here they are sitting at this table and they're talking, and Owen Wilson, Mobius, is talking about how much he believes in the TVA. It's real to him because he believes in it. And yet, in his conversation with the judge, she says, you have this heart for broken people. So we see that he does have this like real heart for the broken. So he's got this heart for Loki and for Loki kind of being trapped into this role that he has to play. But with the jet skis, we also see like he's got dreams and he's got goals. And so it makes you think like there's this part of him that as much as he believes in it, it's just the same old, constantly on repeat. You know, I mean, he even made that talk about how the timeline is what the timeline is.
Yes.
And that's how it's happened again and again and again.
Yeah, so how many times have they seen it happen again and again and again?
I know. So like, but then they also talk about how the epilogue is still being unwoven and how there really is an end of time where there won't be any Nexus stuff.
It makes no sense to me at all.
Well, I don't
Just
think,
being honest.
Is that negative to you that it doesn't make sense?
No, I'm loving it because I very much like fantasy and TV shows and movies that take me out of the world.
Yes.
I live in this world. I deal with all the junk. I like to have imagination and crazy fun, and I am with this.
Yeah, and so I'm loving the fact that like they're saying things that seem to contradict each other, but they don't because we're in this weird space somewhere between time and space, and so it's like incredibly intriguing. But I think what we're seeing with Mobius is the beginning of his character arc. He loves and believes in the TVA, but this brings us right back to our earlier conversation about the Time Lords. Are they good timekeepers? Gosh.
That's okay. You guys know what we mean when he says Time Lords.
Are they good? Are they evil? Either way, they're not going to be what Mobius thinks they are. There is going to be some epic reveals. Probably some part of his world is going to be shattered, but we're already seeing that he loves the time period in the 90s where there's jet skis.
Yeah.
He loves things like that are awesome. And so we kind of have this goal that we're working for. I love how the first episode deconstructs Loki and the second one deconstructs the TVA. Also, I think the unknown artifacts and Renslayer, is that how you say her name? Renslayer's office are from missions where Mobius was mind wiped. So not just a clone or something, but mind wiped.
Well, you know, that would make sense because magic exists, except for it doesn't exist in the TVA.
Well, it depends because as I learned last night on the other live stream I did, a Nexus being like Wanda has her magic retained even in a place like the TVA.
Fascinating.
So
I was just thinking clones. I like mind wipe better, I think.
I think so too. Like, and it makes more sense. So yeah. Thank you so much, Joel. That was a really good point that we never actually thought of. So yeah, so he's been mind wiped time and time, maybe because he constantly has this character arc, maybe because he meets other Loki variants. He has a soft heart.
Which he clearly has because he's talked about other Loki variants. He showed the Hulk Loki, and I can just remember the Hulk Loki because I remember Tom Hiddleston's look when he saw the Hulk Loki. He was like, that was great. There was like 3 or 4. Oh, yeah, there was like the Lance Armstrong one. And, I can't remember what the first one was.
There was quite a few.
Yeah. I enjoyed that. That made me laugh. So let's talk about the whole Loki being mischievous.
Go ahead.
So I really enjoyed when they went to the Renaissance Fair.
That was fun.
And Loki clearly saw what was going on, and he just did exactly what Loki does. He talked, and he was deceptive, and he tried to do that. And then I really enjoyed how Owen Wilson's like, he's lying to us.
Yeah.
I'm like, but it took him a minute, but he realized it, which I had a good time with that whole scene. What did you think of that?
I thought that was I thought the way he was stalling for time.
It was clear he was stalling.
It was, and I'm like, what game are you playing? First, Aaron, he says, reminds me of the Matrix Reloaded. Neo is the 6th version of the anomaly, aka a variant.
And with the new Matrix coming out here, there's going to be another variant.
Oh, well, Keanu Reeves is coming back, so.
Yeah, but he's not in.
I don't know. We'll have to see how who cares? This is about Loki. Yes. So anyway, and it's up, and guys, continue. Like, what are your questions about the show? Like, go ahead and drop those in the comments. And like, we want to continue to hear from you because like, this is a very fascinating episode. But yeah, so when he's stalling for time, it's like, he's playing a game. And they established that in the first episode.
Well, because that's who he is. It's fun for him.
Well, it's funny because you can see this point of reset. So here as Loki, he was willing in the first Avengers movie to obey Thanos, to follow Thanos.
Because he was going to get what he wanted.
To get an Infinity Stone and be able to get Midgard and have a throne. And like, that's what he was willing to do. And Thanos is one bad man majamba, as we all know. And the Infinity Stones are quite powerful. But now he's found a place where Infinity Stones are paperweights. And you could see just the awe of it hit him and kind of the reset. But in episode 1, again, in that very next scene where he's talking to Owen Wilson, and I'm pretty convinced about this, when he's saying like, I don't want to hurt people. I mean, there's probably some genuineness to that. He probably doesn't want to hurt people. But I think he's realizing that in the timeline, his life is scripted. It is going to follow a certain pattern. Here is true power. And now I think the act has started so that he could learn the players of this new game.
Yep.
Yeah.
Completely agreed. Because he knew what he had to say to move to the next step. And so it's just this whole game and sequence.
Yeah.
But what I think I'm going to jump back to the Renaissance Fair. I think what Loki was doing while he was there is he was analyzing what the other Loki, so they're saying, what that one did and how he would have done it different or how he would have done it. And he's trying to understand that person, which is another reason he's stalling for time.
Yes.
One, to give his alter ego from another timeline, I guess, a chance to get away.
Well, he said that at the end when he met her.
Yeah, but she was already gone. He didn't need to give her any time. She was gone.
Yes.
But also to just try to learn more about that whole situation and see, okay, why is it? Because he's always thinking he's an incredibly smart, chaotic character. So to see him kind of thinking quickly, which we see him do more as we learn, and figuring out what this person wants, which he doesn't know yet. But
yeah. And I'm curious, like, I think I know what this person wants. I mean, I think this person wants to overthrow the Timekeepers and rule the timeline.
Like Loki does.
Just like Loki does. And so now he's got to figure out this player. Is this somebody I can join forces with? Is this somebody I can defeat? Is this me? So I got to learn all the players on this board so I can play the game and I can cast the illusion. Now you had, so speaking of this variant, interesting thoughts about the apocalyptic events.
Oh, okay. So first, you guys probably all saw the whole apocalyptic scene was hysterical to me.
Oh, it was hysterical.
Like Loki just jumping out there doing this. Honestly, though, he could have done magic. I'm like, why didn't he change like somebody's head into a frog or something weird? And I know he probably couldn't mess with the timeline too much because it was something that was happening. But that cracked me up, that whole sequence. But when they were trying to figure out, because they discovered the candy came from a certain time period and that these apocalyptic events, variants could be at it. Did you see how many apocalyptic, I can't say that word.
Apocalyptic
events happened in the course of 3 years?
Yeah.
They had stacks of them. So is this variant Loki, the other variant Loki, or we'll get to what we think she is in a minute. Did she create all of them so that this way she would have different places to hide in the timeline?
Now, let us know what you think of that in the comments, because I honestly think that's kind of an interesting theory. I mean, clearly, like, I think the 2050 hurricane, not caused by her.
I know it's hard, but the certain bird going extinct.
Yeah, the swallow going extinct. And, but was that really, well, it was an apocalyptic
and then
event.
famine happened and like little things like that, where I'm like, is that something that she somehow orchestrated in a way that the Timekeepers couldn't see it?
Yeah, that's interesting. So that's going to be really interesting to get into. The other thing that was cool is you really get this chance to see Loki try to, play it cool. Because when he has the file and he has this revelation of where this variant is hiding, but he's looking at Ragnarok and the destruction of, and in fact, let me say this. Let me get this controversial thing out there because controversy sells. Ragnarok was too goofy. And so when they had to destroy Ragnarok, the land, destroy Asgard, the land, to save Asgard, the people, what a weighty and heavy moment, totally covered over in slapstick comedy. Yeah. And so here's this show that has a far better balance than Thor Ragnarok that is insanely goofy. But then you have Loki and he's reading this document and that tear forming in his eye and that music that plays in the background. And so he's got this emotion as he's seeing his land, his home, his people destroyed.
He might have never figured out that variants couldn't be in post or apocalyptic events hidden. Yeah. If it wasn't for him wanting to research what happened to Asgard.
Yep. But then when he goes to Mobius, and Mobius is like, yeah, I'm sorry about Asgard. And then he just goes, yeah, whatever. And then he goes into the plan. I feel like that was a quick cover up. So what this gives us is a little bit more layers to Loki. Like, you really see that he does have this heart. He does have these emotions, and he's trying to cover it up with his illusion, kind of like what he did in Thor, the Dark World, where he created that illusion after his mother died when Thor went to see him and Thor called him on it.
And everything looked perfect.
So then he dropped the illusion, and we see how, like, messed up he really is. So, like, that was really cool and how it keeps in character with who he is. Yep. Yeah.
I agree.
So I guess that leaves us no place to go but the end, where the sacred timeline is
So the
bombed.
entire time since the entire time. So for a week since episode 1 aired, I have been thinking it's the Enchantress. The reason being because we watched Earth Mightiest Heroes. She had green. She had a similar look.
Boom,
to Loki.
there she is.
I just like she had the horns. Well, it's a crown, but
Yeah.
And she had ties to Asgard. Like she loved Thor. She worked with Loki. I liked her character in the show, so I want it to be her. But then we see that shot of the variant, because that's all they said in the credits was her name, in the end of the things. And she has one horn and one's kind of sawed off, or it's covered by her hair. I'm not sure.
And then Laura found this.
And so then I looked online, and Lady Loki has that. And so
the difference is she has blonde hair in the picture.
I don't think that matters.
It probably doesn't.
But
yeah.
I want her to be the Enchantress. I really do. But because of this picture, I'm thinking Lady Loki. But really, I don't care. I'll be happy with either one.
Well, I think the only reason you and me wanted to be the Enchantress is we're familiar with the Enchantress. We're not familiar with Lady Loki.
She was so cool.
She was pretty cool. Attached to Loki's hip.
Yeah, I liked her. So that's why I wanted it to be her. And because she had the same kind of magic. I know nothing about Lady Loki, so that might be her magic that she has, where she can, in time control somebody. I'm not 100% sure on that.
So Joel says, Laura, that's an interesting idea about your apocalyptic idea. So many in the course of like 3 years.
Thank you.
But I think that can also reflect how global news is more quickly recognized in our modern world.
That is a very, very good point, too, because things can get around, or news can get around so much faster in this day and age. And in 2050, it's going to be even faster.
Thank you, Aaron, for agreeing with me about the movie Thor Ragnarok. There are so few who do agree with me, and I appreciate you are one of those. Yeah. Now, like, it was... Okay, so Lady Loki, here's what was interesting. So we know Wanda is a Nexus being.
Yes.
She is the Scarlet Witch.
Because she's born from the stone.
Now, think about this. Think about this. In Age of Ultron, we see Wanda come up behind people and, do that thing.
That's true.
And that's exactly what Lady Loki did. Exact same way, exact same effect. Only instead of the power being red, it was green. And so...
Not the same.
Okay. Explain.
Well, because she became the person.
Well, yes.
And Wanda did not. She, screwed with their mind.
But it's still, in a way, screwing with their mind. I'm talking about the literal effect. The way she did the wavy of the hand, the electricity
the effect
jumping.
Is the same, but it's not, to me, the same power, personally. I mean, I bet she could do it.
Just not Suicide Squad Enchantress. No, this is Suicide Squad Enchantress.
That's a whole different... comic book... Why can't I think of it? A whole different, not Marvel, but DC.
Yeah, it's DC.
My mind's in another place. I'm so
Laura,
sorry.
Look at the wall right there, and it says DC.
He's a DC person, so I've got to be careful.
These theories are awesome. I'll have to spend more time on this channel, LOL. Yes, Tate.
Thanks, Tate.
Spend more time on this channel. I would love to have you, and I have tons of other nerdy things. Like, for instance, I did this whole theological analysis of Zack Snyder's Justice League. I have tons of other Marvel stuff, so please come and geek out. I would love to have you and have more epic conversations. And what are your theories here, Tate?
Yes, please share some theories with us. I would love to hear others.
So I don't know, what I'm trying to get with this idea of the effect being the same, does that mean Lady Loki is a Nexus being? Now, the prophecy already is Wanda's the Scarlet Witch, and that's chaotic magic. Mm-hmm. And she's the most powerful, even more powerful than Doctor Strange. So she can't, right? She can't be on the same level as Wanda. But could she possibly be a Nexus being?
I don't know.
How about you? Do you know? Is it possible that like me going into this Strange, it's like, that's what I'm wondering. Like, is she a Nexus being? Can she use her abilities outside the TVA?
I don't know. I don't know. My mind went somewhere else completely. I'm sorry. I was just thinking of the Power Stones, and I was going, why didn't Loki pocket them?
Oh, yeah.
Because he went back to Earth. He would have had the Power Stone.
Well, it depends. If he grabbed the actual Power Stone, it would have destroyed him and the Earth. But he could have grabbed the Time Stone, or
I know. Sorry, it was just a random thought that just came to my mind.
That is an interesting thought.
And I'm like, why didn't he grab one of them? Because he could have. Yeah, but it doesn't matter because he jumped through the teleportation device with the Lady variant. So either Enchantress or Lady Loki. And I'm very excited to see where that's going to go, because I've got a feeling in this next episode it will be mostly him and her.
Yes, and I can't wait to see where that's going to go.
There's a reason she kept the door open long enough so he could get through.
So Captain is asking me, when will you do Superman and Lois episode? Okay, so I went on the Wall of Weird, which is this other podcast that I'm doing with Brian Lomax and a couple other really cool people. And I felt like as soon as I did my review over there, I went, oh, I'm out of gas. I don't have anything else to say.
He had a business trip-ish type thing, and so he was gone from Sunday through Wednesday. So he's just now recouping.
So check out the Wall of Weird. Definitely, though, when I go to review the next episode of Superman and Lois, like the next one that's dropping, I'll get into it more. I will say this. This is the first episode I was a little bit let down on with Superman and Lois. Not that it was all bad. But, I mean, come on. Spoiler alert. If you're going to...
I haven't seen it yet.
Have
Sorry, we're not
that emotional moment of Kal-El seeing a certain somebody.
She has the same name as me, kind of, but not. Okay, never mind. I know. I saw it in a trailer.
Okay, so if he's going to see his mom, my gosh, where's your strong emotional beats with that? I just felt like, yeah, it was there, but wasn't there. Aaron says Wall of Weird rules. So for right now, if you want my review on that, definitely head over to the Wall of Weird. It's up right there. And so I talk about that with some great people. And I'll definitely
equally crazy Superman fans.
And I'll definitely bring it up next week, because I am going to catch up next week, and I'm going to review the new episode, and I'll get into that there. So let's get right back into Lady Loki. I thought it was interesting, her plan, because like she's chaotic and Loki is chaotic. And so you have one YouTube channel that I watched counted 42 of those, branch trimmer pruners.
Yes, I'm so curious to know where they all went.
And some other channels like counted a few others, but it was very interesting, or different numbers, but they drop through. And there are some channels that do excellent breakdowns of the times and the time periods they landed in. But I'm looking at this and I'm thinking, what a fantastic origin story for the animated What If series that Disney Plus is going to drop. You know what that is?
Oh, I can guess if it's called What If.
But I mean, it's like, what if this happened instead of that? Like one of the trailers I saw, what if Black Panther was the one as a kid taken into space instead of, oh my gosh, Star-Lord. Oh. I can't remember his real name. I like Chris Pratt's character. Why can't I remember his
Star-Lord?
No, Star-Lord is his hero name.
That's his name.
Well, what if it was Black Panther instead of Star-Lord? And so I'm wondering, and what do you think about that? Like, do you think this is our origin of
to the what if? Yeah. Yes, as well as our origin to the Doctor Strange movie.
Yeah.
The Multiverse of Madness.
Now think about this. This is going to blow your mind. Now, as we experience time, we only experience it linearly. So when you have like Spider-Man and Spider-Man Far From Home talking about the fact that there could be a multiverse, you know what? There probably presently was a multiverse at that time. Mm-hmm. However, us now are outside of time, watching this show, watching those pruners fall into the timeline and create the multiverse. So while we're watching the MCU, the multiverse could already exist, yet watching Loki, we're taken outside of time and we're seeing the origin of the multiverse.
My thing, all the different...
Peter Quill. How could I forget? Oh my gosh.
Tell him. I was waiting to see if he could figure it out.
You didn't know.
I remembered Peter. I could not remember the last name. I remembered Peter, and I wasn't.
Well, why didn't you say Peter? I would have said Quill. It would have popped in there.
But what I want to know, so how it broke off into like a bunch of different timelines. Is there going to be a timeline war? What is a timeline war? Explain the timeline war.
Yeah, that was really interesting.
Like, oh, this happened. So they pruned the branches. How did you figure out how to prune the branches? Is all three of them, the Timekeepers, all from a different branch, and that's why they're all together? Sorry, that was something else.
No, I love those type of questions, because like going into this without all this comic book knowledge and also knowing it's the MCU and they're going to do their own take on it, it's just, I really can't wait to see where that's going to go. And I like that I don't know where it's going to go.
Not a clue. And you know what? I'm probably making it way bigger than it probably will be.
But
I like it.
But it's going to be madness, right? Because the next Doctor Strange movie is called Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. And we have the Nexus being Wanda here as part of it. So like, it's going to be really interesting how that movie is going to take what's being established here and bring that together. So like, I may not have theories about all these different timelines, and there's a lot of great YouTube videos that go through and break down like the dates on the monitor and the places, because they dropped, you know, some of those reset charges or pruners on Vormir, you know, where
the
Red Skull. Yeah, where Red Skull is. And so what does that mean?
Not the Mind Stone.
Well, it's where the Soul Stone is.
Stone.
So if a pruner was dropped there and it pruned something there and made that diverge into a different path, so what does that say about the Soul Stone? What does that say about Red Skull? So what path will that diverge into? And so like people have like all these different and interesting theories. One of them, like apparently if you look at that monitor, it fell on Ego. And so it pruned something there and sent whatever Ego's going through in a different divergent line. So now
maybe to stop him from killing Peter Quill.
Or is there a divergent line now where he succeeds in his mission?
Ooh.
Like, so now you have these divergent lines taking off in all these different directions. And I think the idea of there being 42 or however many it was, it's
the answer to life universe. Sorry, I got that wrong. But the answer to the universe, pretty much.
But can you possibly prune all of those before they redline? Before there's the point of no return. So I think that's the whole idea there. And I think the whole idea and the whole reason she's doing that is, yeah, she's, you know, the god of mischief or goddess of mischief. But is it more than just mischief? Is she fighting for free will?
So now I have a whole nother thing. So those charges that she dropped through the different time zones, it basically removes what just happened.
Well, I saw a theory about this, and I think it makes sense because, like, yeah, you're right. They're branch pruners.
Yeah.
But by dropping them at certain points of the timeline and having them, like, do their thing.
So they're pruning something that was supposed to happen.
Yes. And it forces a divergent branch.
Yeah, that makes
sense. So you still have this primary timeline that somehow is still traveling forward.
Makes sense.
But now these branches are going. So Aaron says, with 4 episodes left, do you think they'll have some sort of conclusion or leave it wide open and we have to wait for Doctor Strange 2?
I think there will be an element of conclusion. So we will feel like we're tied up because I don't think they will want to leave it loose end completely. But I do think that there will be certain loose ends, kind of like WandaVision had a handful of loose ends still, like what's going to happen with White Vision. I mean, is that what his name was?
Yeah, well, we just call him White Vision. I don't know.
Yeah, and what's going to happen, like I heard she's going to try to go get her kids back. And
oh, yeah, because she heard her kids when she was astral projecting.
Like, so there's a lot of other things that are going on there, but the story wrapped up nicely. So I've got a feeling the story's going to wrap up nicely or nice enough because it is Loki. There's got to be a little bit of chaos in there. But there's going to be a lot of other questions going on. Now,
in the trailer, we do see different timelines. We see timelines where Loki is sitting on the throne of Asgard. And so like, we know.
I don't remember that. That's pretty cool.
We do know based on the trailer that this is going to have some effect spilling into the next episode. Maybe they'll succeed in trimming branches, but I don't think they will. Either way, we're going to get a good exploration of different what ifs, different branches of time. And I'm very much looking forward to that. But to answer your question, I feel like they will close off this story. But now I'm thinking of Thor: The Dark World. And you remember how that movie ended? But then the last second, it's an illusion. It wasn't Odin on the throne. It was Loki on the throne. What if it looks like Loki loses? What if he plays dead and then the 3 timekeepers disappear?
So many times
and we see it's Loki sitting on the timekeeper's throne.
I would think the timekeepers would be able to know where there's magic happening.
Yes, I'm saying they're defeated by that point. And it looks like there's a victory. I don't know. And but then you also got to put into play, like, what's going to happen with this female variant of Loki? Like, are they going to team up? Are they going to play each other?
I think they're going to, both, because if it is Lady Loki, then even though she doesn't like going by that name.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's, the lady variant, are they going to, team up, but really they're both playing each other to get some kind of resolution.
I think that's probably what it will be. They will be playing each other. Yeah, because
I don't feel like either of them
unless Loki just falls in love with himself.
That would be weird. That's why I wanted to be Enchantress.
Sorry, this is off topic, but how would you guys feel if the rumors of No Way Home didn't come true? I would feel gutted. I'm just that excited for the possibilities. Have you heard these No Way Home rumors for Spider-Man No Way Home?
Maybe.
The rumors are that it could be a possible live action Into the Spider-Verse.
That would be cool.
And that would bring in Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire.
That would easily make sense why they can bring all the others in.
But they keep going back and forth on that. Like Andrew Garfield saying, no, I have not been called in for that. Same thing with Tobey Maguire. And yet they're bringing in the crazy Green Goblin from the original Spider-Man movie and things like that. And possibly, Willem Dafoe, and possibly the guy who was Doc Ock in Spider-Man 2.
Can't remember his name, but yes.
And so it's I don't know if I would
and
be.
they got Michael Keaton.
Yeah. Well, he's not a part of a different timeline, but yeah.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know how gutted I would be, because I do love Into the Spider-Verse, and I would love a live action version of it. And I think that'd be very cool to see what happened with Tobey Maguire, Spider-Man, and Andrew Garfield's. So that would be really interesting. I don't know if I'd be gutted, because Sean Chandler talks about, says, like, we haven't seen Spider-Man really in New York yet. And we've already left Spider-Man in this really fascinating place where his identity is revealed to the world. And for me, I would rather see Netflix Daredevil show up.
Yes!
And have him be his lawyer.
Yes.
Like,
sorry, that was really loud. I really like Daredevil.
You can tell what she's excited for. I wouldn't be disappointed one way or the other. If we got a live action Into the Spider-Verse, I'm down for that. But if we didn't, and we get to see the Netflix Daredevil be his lawyer,
that'd be cool.
Yes, I would be 100% down for that too. So
I just realized I totally said Michael Keaton for a Marvel movie, and that is DC. My bad.
Michael Keaton
is Batman for DC,
and he's the Vulture in Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, so then it kind of worked.
Yes,
my bad.
It did work.
I was totally thinking of Batman, though. I wasn't thinking of the Vulture. He crossed over universes.
Aaron says yes, Daredevil would be awesome.
It was just so well done. So well done.
There was a somewhat Peggy Carter appearance in episode 1. Maybe.
I don't know, because it looks like her, but it could just be somebody from that time.
Yeah. You know, I didn't even catch it the first time. It was other YouTube videos that did the breakdown, zoomed in on the picture. And the last time Laura and I watched episode 1, I saw her. And I got to admit, it looks an awful lot like Peggy Carter. And I got to say, if it is, I'm going to be so sad, because Captain America's ending was fantastic in Endgame. And if he accidentally created a divergent timeline and she gets arrested by the TVA and he does not, well, there's going to be a problem there.
He ended up with her for a long time, because it's fine. It'll be fine. I think it'll be fine.
Dale says Daredevil would be fine. I just think if you're going to pair Tom Holland up with anyone, maybe Tobey and Andrew could teach him to be on his own independent Spider-Man.
I like that too.
You know, that is very true, because really up to this point, we have not seen this MCU Spider-Man be his own Spider-Man.
No.
Well, sort of in Far From Home.
Yeah, well, he was trying to, but the thing is, he kept relying on other people to help him.
And that was the message of it, though. The message is he learned to be his own Spider-Man instead of trying to be Iron Man. Which is what Tony
always thought he could be, which is why Tony gave him the glasses.
Exactly. So, gave a teenager glasses that could call down mass destruction.
Yeah.
Where was Edith in Endgame? I don't want to ask that question because I don't care, because Endgame was just that good. But anyway.
We're not going to worry about that right now.
All right. Well, what do you say we begin to wrap this up, Laura? What are some of your final thoughts, maybe final theories of, or maybe not theories, but what do you hope to see?
I have no theories.
What do you hope to see as this continues?
I'm looking forward to Loki using his magic again.
Yes.
I like when he's his trickster self. I will say in this, I feel like because he doesn't have his magic, he's not himself in the TVA. Like there's something off about it. And it's, I still think the actor's playing it very well, Tom Hiddleston, but there's something off to the Loki for me. And it's probably because he's trying to figure out his new ground. And I'm looking forward to seeing him with his magic back and seeing him with his divine purpose.
Ooh. Now, this is a good point. Maybe the Peggy Carter reveal was Captain Britain being brought in.
Ooh.
And we see that, I think, in the What If trailer.
Yeah.
Like this. And so that would be that's a really good thought, Michael. Thank you so much for that. Do you think Richard E. Grant will be a timekeeper or another variant?
I do not know who Richard E. Grant is.
You might have to fill in us Marvel comic novices on that one, because we are more Marvel movies. So.
Yeah, sorry.
But I guess it's possible, just because of the fact that we haven't seen the Timekeepers. Which, okay, here's something interesting. I'm glad you brought that up. Okay, so the girl that was kidnapped by the variant at the beginning. And Laura and I turned on, like, the closed captioning at the end because we wanted to see the words. And so it's interesting because when that girl was kidnapped and she was being held in that store,
20 or something like that.
And she's rocking back and forth and she says, "It's real. It's real. It's real." I already want to know what she's talking about.
And then she said she gave him the location of the Timekeepers.
I thought nobody's seen the Timekeepers. So, like, this is a real, genuine question that I now have. So even if nobody's seen the Timekeepers, does that mean they all just seem to know where the Timekeepers are? Why would they all know where the Timekeepers are? How do you give directions?
How do you get there and get into the TVA if you don't have one of those charges?
So here we have our Loki, and here we have variant Loki, who both crave an audience with the Timekeepers. And now we have an officer of the TVA who was kidnapped, and somehow the information was extracted from her about where they are. So actually, this goes into the question that I asked you of what I hope to see. I really hope in the next episode, we really get more into that.
Yeah.
What information was she getting at? Why? How can you get to these Timekeepers? So I'm excited to learn about these Timekeepers and kind of figure out their whole deal.
Me too.
Yeah. And plus,
I'm just excited to figure out
plus this variant Loki. Like, how is this going to go? I can't imagine any universe where they're not playing each other and they don't betray each other at the end. And Mobius is going to be the true friend here. Exactly my point. It's like the Wizard of Oz, LOL. Sorry, this is off topic, but what are your guys' opinion on the original Space Jam with Michael Jordan while waiting for Space Jam 2 with LeBron James? The trailers for Space Jam 2 are remarkable.
I will say I loved the first Space Jam. I grew up playing basketball, and I was 4th, 5th, or 6th grade, somewhere in that area when Space Jam came out, and I loved it. Huge Michael Jordan fan back then, and I mean, honestly, still am now, but it was so good then, and I agree, the new trailers are remarkable, but I am sick of things being remade the same way. So it has to be different. If it's not different and it's the same storyline, I'm going to be frustrated by that personally, because I just feel like, come on, I need a little more originality here. So I'm hopeful. I'm curious to see how LeBron James does as an actor. He's a great basketball player by all means, man. But I don't know. I mean, Michael Jordan obviously wasn't the best actor either, but I was a kid and it was epic then. So we'll see.
I haven't seen the original, and I don't know.
He did not play basketball.
Yeah. So Michael Keaton's The Vulture is in the Morbius movie trailer. That's right. And we cannot forget that, because is this a separate Sony time? Oh my gosh. Think about this. When all of those pruning things fell on the timeline, was one of those branches the X-Men branch of the X-Men movies that we got? Was another branch the Sam Raimi SpiderMan movies that we got? Was another branch the Andrew Garfield? Like, I am so unbelievably
And could the pruning of them be what brings all of them together?
I don't know. Well, pruning them would mean they just
I know, get rid of them,
yeah.
But because it's a whole new world with all the craziness going on right now, and they're going to be fighting to save the universe, I'm guessing, is that what's going to bring all the Spider-Men together?
Probably. If that's what we do in Far From Home. If that's what we do.
I'm amazed at how they can think of this stuff so far in advance.
Yeah. What villains would you want to see in a multiverse Sinister Six? How do you feel about Doc Ock and Electro possibly? Oh, yeah, because that is the rumor that Jamie Foxx is coming back as Electro, along with Willem Dafoe and all that. Yeah.
As
so Electro
Goblin
possibly coming back. Would you want to see a father-son goblin duo with Dafoe and Dan DeHaan? Wow, that could be really, really interesting.
Maybe.
So
I want to say yes, but I don't know. But I trust Marvel to do it right.
I definitely want the Willem Dafoe Green Goblin to come back.
An excellent actor.
Give me the Spider-Man 2 Doc Ock, because I've said it many times on this channel. I'm not a big fan of the Raimi Spider-Man trilogy, but I did really like Spider-Man 2.
The villains were great.
So Doc Ock would be great. I didn't hate Electro, so definitely give me Electro.
You think they'll bring the Rhino in?
No. I feel like the Rhino was supposed to be developed into something better, and of course it never got made.
Well, because there's a huge comic book with the Rhino and him on the cover, and that was the comic book that last scene in the movie.
I'm trying to think who else I'd want to see in that Sinister Six. Like I'm thinking through the different Spider-Man video
I
games
just jumped
I played.
to DC. I'm like a Yellow Lantern. Sorry, I jump universes all the time.
My wife, when I met her, she wasn't a nerd. Now she's
I'm getting
such
better.
a nerd that she could leap universes from Star Wars to Marvel to DC in a single
yeah,
bound.
but the hard part is sometimes I get them mixed up.
I'm just so happy she has grown and matured as a person throughout our marriage.
Yeah, 10 years ago,
and
I
it
could not
truly
do it.
makes me so happy.
Yeah, 10 years ago, I couldn't do it.
I mean, I would love to see the Goblin father-son duo. That'd
Yeah.
be really interesting. I'm trying to just think what else. Oh yeah, because wasn't that the one he's talking about? The one from Amazing Spider-Man 2? The Green Goblin that was in that one? I think so.
I don't
Anyway.
remember. I think so.
Yeah, I can't think of all 6 right now, but
remember.
yes.
Yeah.
But no, I would love a multiverse Sinister Six. Like
All
it
right.
would be really cool to bring in all these people that they had been building up and had to restart. It would just be awesome to have them come back. They've talked about possibly introducing the Hobgoblin. Would you like that? That would be interesting. That would be interesting, and I would be curious.
I don't know much about him, but I like the name.
I am more excited for Michael Keaton reprising Batman in The Flash. Michael
Yes,
Keaton as the
me
Vulture
too.
is okay, but it's like seeing Keaton's Batman go grumpy. You know what? I totally agree. And I feel bad for Ezra Miller, right? Because I'm excited about this new Flash movie. Because I'm just excited. It's like, fine. If you got to go reset the DCEU, it is kind of a mess. Reset the darn thing, whatever. But I am more excited for the Flash movie for Michael Keaton's Batman than I am for the Flash. And I mean, I think even the rumors are it's mostly him as Bruce Wayne. I don't even care. Just give me Michael Keaton back as Bruce Wayne, Batman, whatever. I am beyond excited for that. I thought he was fine as the Vulture, especially that scene where he recognizes Peter's voice.
Oh,
and then his daughter drops those hints and he puts two and two together. Oh, man. The tension in that scene, you could just feel it. And so, yes, maybe throughout the movie, it's like you could see him more as a grumpier version of Batman. But in that scene in particular, the tension in that car, it is for real. It is for real.
Don't want to mess with that.
Oh, man.
Okay,
all right.
Back to Loki.
Back to Loki. I think
Marvel related. I think we've pretty much covered it, correct?
Yeah. Oh, Batman Returns turns 29 today.
Wow.
Oh, man. I should have done something.
I didn't. Man, that makes me feel old.
I know. I saw it on the big screen opening weekend.
I didn't see it until I was much older. But
wow.
That makes me feel old.
I honestly think the Spider-Man and the Flash rumors are too much for now. We got to have room for more story much more later on. Yeah. We'll see what they all do. Like, I don't know. Like the DC, I love DC. I'm more of a DC than a Marvel, but the MCU has just been kicking butt.
I'm sorry, the movies and the planning is so much better in the MCU.
So, I don't know. With DC, for me, now it's just a case-by-case basis.
Yeah.
So
their animated is killer. It's good.
Oh, man.
They have amazing animated.
I love the death of Superman and the reign of the Supermen. That is a good one.
That was like probably one of the first comic book movies you made me watch, and I loved it.
Would you like to see Sandman come back?
Okay, so I'm trying to think. There was something, it must have been an animated show where Sandman was in it, and I liked the Sandman there. But in the Raimi trilogy, I personally did not like how Sandman was portrayed. I'm like, I didn't think the actor knocked it out of the park. But honestly, and this might be controversial, I didn't really like the Sam Raimi SpiderMan movies. They were a little too slow and boring for me, which is why I didn't get into the comic book movies until I met him.
Now, I would be curious for that Spider-Man 3 Sandman to come back for one reason. The only thing I liked about Spider-Man 3 was Peter Parker learning to forgive the man who was responsible for the death of Uncle Ben.
And like seeing Sandman fight and try to be better and maybe be that like kind of good villain and helping, and I don't know. I don't know how it would work, honestly.
We'll have to see how that goes. But I would love to see what's happened to that guy since then. So I think it'd be really cool to bring him back. Yeah. The opening explaining the multiverse timeline totally reminded me of the Dino DNA. And yes, it did. I said that in my review. Yeah.
And when we were watching it, I'm like, oh, what's the name of the
Mr. DNA?
No,
the clock.
No, I'm so sorry.
I don't even know what she's talking about.
The guy who opened Jurassic Park.
John Hammond.
John Hammond. I was going to say Ham, and I knew that was wrong. So
I wish you would have said Ham. We would have gotten there so much faster if you had just said Ham.
So if John Hammond, all I was thinking of when we saw the clock, I'm like, we just need John Hammond talking back and forth to it.
Yes.
I'm like, I was waiting for it because it reminded me of Jurassic Park immediately.
Yes, yeah. But, I love awesome. Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
so
that's his absolute favorite movie.
Love all your movie comic reviews. Will you be reviewing Batman Earth 1 Volume 3 that recent? Yes.
We just ordered it. I didn't realize it came out, and oops.
I actually just saw it the other day, so I'm excited. It's coming in the mail. So a review for Batman Earth 1 Volume 3.
Coming soon.
It is coming because that Earth 1 graphic novel series is freaking epic, except for the Wonder Woman ones, unfortunately.
Yeah, he didn't like those. I didn't read that
Superman
one.
2 turns 40 today. What is going on with all these movies having birthdays today?
Well, I wasn't born when that one came out, so I don't feel old now.
I wasn't born when that one came out either. I feel better, but happy birthday, Superman 2.
Yes.
That is a good one. And then the Richard Donner cut didn't come out to 2006, so we can at least pretend that one's a little bit younger.
Well, because that's one you really like.
I really like both. Both versions to me are really good, but the Richard Donner cut is special.
Okay, well, back to Loki now. Sorry. We're veering off because we're pretty much done, and we just like to chat with you guys.
We are pretty much done, and we want to just say thank you so much for joining us in the chat. What did you think of Loki Episode 2, and how excited are you for what's coming down the line? And be sure in the comments, like if you're watching this in replay, leave us in the comments, like what is your favorite episode of the 2 that have dropped so far? Yes. How excited are you for what's coming? And of the 3 shows, what's your favorite? My favorite of the 3 is Loki, and we're only 2 episodes in.
I need more.
You need more. Okay.
I mean, they all have very awesome things that I like, so I need more because it will probably end up being my favorite when all's said and done.
Awesome. I'm so glad you had fun, Dale. Thank you all so much again for joining us. And we really appreciate it. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't subscribed to Derbania. Be sure to check out my spoiler talk for episode 1 of Loki. Head over to the Wall of Weird. If you're curious about what I thought of the most recent episode of Superman and Lois, you'll get my full thoughts over there. So thank you all so much for joining us, and have a good one.